Good evening. I believe, as someone told me to say, you are not an evangelist, but you are a prophet. I don't need to call myself a prophet, hence I've been maintaining the title of an evangelist, because my prophecy gives me the message to preach. So I wouldn't refuse if someone would call me a prophet, because of the evidence of what God revealed to me from the time when I was actually 19 years. So today, what I'm writing and actually explaining to the people is based on the visions when I was still young, and I see them being fulfilled. As I said, to say in yesterday's video, I talked to say I feel very much disappointed to see presidents that are meant to be warned, they neglect to listen to God. Why do they neglect to listen to God? I understand that their negligence is something driven not with ignorance, but with the pride of life, because perhaps of money. I'll quickly mention to say, if one would understand to say a person can be very important when he is alive and is serving as president, protection and so forth, but going to the grave, the day is declared dead by the doctor, he remains alone, and he goes to the mortuary alone and without any expensive covering, and to the grave he goes alone, and that respect ends from there. So now, what is it that man is fighting to control another man in order for him to be happy and persecute another man until death? So here we are. I'm giving you a prophecy that I wrote in this book, The Rescue Operation. The time when I wrote this book, I was 31 years, 2001. I want to say that I started preaching about this prophecy when money failed in the land of Canaan, when I was 19, after receiving the vision. 10 years later, I had to put it in this book. When I was preaching, like I said yesterday, to say, I saw Barack Obama as a Joseph, as a black person ruling America, as a slave ruling America. And thereafter, a new king rose after him. And that new king happened to be Donald Trump. What makes this prophecy precisely is that the promises that Barack Obama made are not different from the promises that Joseph made to his family when they were given Goshen land to settle. And the new king did not recognize Joseph, and he did cut aid. He didn't persecute the Israelites. They became slaves, and he gave them hard labor. Now we see Donald Trump persecuting Africa in right through. I want to mention to say, when I'm talking about to say the allegation leveled against presidents of Africa or the ministers or the opposition leaders, as the case in Kenya, as the case in Zambia, as the case in DRC Congo, and many other African countries where opposition leaders are jailed for no apparently reasons but framed allegations. This is not a new thing. It was reviewed to me to say, as it happened to the children of Israel, it is the same system that shall keep on repeating itself to infringe Africa of its right to ownership of resources. How did I explain it in this book? I'll say, on page 88, I drew up to say, let us draw our example from the children of Israel's highway to slavery as we discover what happened after the money failed and after the sale of the land. Remember the former things of old, Isaiah chapter 45, verse 9 and 10. It says, remember the thing of God, of old, says God. He declares it before it sprang forth. So I said I like to make reference to Abraham Lincoln in his historical speech, House Divided, a short time before the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln said, if we could first know where we are and whether we are tending, we better judge what to do and how to do it. So this statement from Abraham Lincoln is a statement that really needs each and every leader to examine the time where we are and to know whether we are tending or not, and to act in accordance to God's will that is going to safeguard us. I want to quickly mention that on page 89, our failing in Christianity shall come as a result of globalization. For this shall introduce global economic control system. And at that time when I talked about national Sunday law, today I understand that even Saturday itself is a Sunday law, because Saturday is not the seventh day, but it is a law under a global church and a state unionized government, as this shall enforce forced worship, and any resistance to this will result in economical sanctions and death. So I want to say that today, when Donald Trump is bragging to say, I'm cutting aid to South Africa, he has cut aid to Zambia, and I understand now there's a 5 million deal given to Zambia, because Zambia is playing compliance with the United States. I understand also there's another 5 million that has been given to Eswatini, one of the countries within the borders of South Africa, by Donald Trump for hosting deportees from America. So because of this donor aid, that's where our economical slavery, which is prophesied in this book, is vividly understood and seen. How did I put it? I'll quickly summarize this chapter. I said, okay, let me mention up contrarily something out of the aid subject to mention to say, I said, this was impossible in the eyes of many because, let me say, God speaks to his people through dreams and visions for warning. If the people hear the warning and repent, then God will withhold the punishment intended to punish his erring children. God communicated to Jacob and his sons through one of his sons, Joseph. But the brothers did not accept the revelation. Instead, they hated him for revelations and sold him to Egypt to make sure he is never lord over them as suggested by the dreams. In 1990, when I reviewed the fall of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who was actually called Wamiayaya, which meant lives forever, this was received with laughter and mockery, more especially when I said a short man by the name of Mr. Chiluba will take over power from President Kaunda. I continue to testify here to say this was impossible in the eyes of many because it was believed that no one could overthrow KK Wamiayaya. Thank God in both cases that of Joseph and mine came to pass. Even after Joseph sailed to Egypt and the mockery I went through, I hope and believe that the rise of the Pope through the open palm government is sure, for it has already gained ground in the state and the church union declaration under President Chiluba's government. The open palm government that I referred to is the UPND, whose symbol is the open palm. And to my acknowledgement today, I find that this same symbol of open palm is a Freemasonry symbol, meaning that whatever I wrote in this book, that it will come with Satanism, Satan rule, it has been fulfilled 100%. That really gives me even to accept if someone, as someone told me to say, you are misleading us. When you say an evangelist, you are making yourself to be speaking contrary to the title. You are a prophet. I want to agree to say, when I look at this statement, yes, I wouldn't refuse to be called a prophet, but I wouldn't want myself to place myself as a prophet. I would always want myself to be called a God's messenger, because I have a right to tell the African leaders that they must unite under President Ibrahim Traoré, because what President Ibrahim Traoré has done is a fulfillment of what I wrote in this book. And he stands the credit of demonstrating that Africa can stand on its own without depending on donor aid. Because this donor aid is the one that led Africa to be dependent on America, France, Britain, and these other countries. I want to say that I believe that God speaks to nations through prophets. I believe that God speaks to anyone at his own will through revelation and visions. And my calling, as much as I know that I'm not accepted, as much as I know that such revelations is what they classify as mental illness or schizophrenia, because it exposes hidden agendas. And more especially, the education system that we are that is imposed on us, and the medical system that is there, it is there just to support the colonial masters and discredit God's word. So I want to continue to say, I'm actually being irritated because of the background of the dog that is barking. Someone is spying around, and my dog does not only bark, it tells me that there's someone nearby, because this is the midst of the night. So I want to say that you may bear with me, listen to what I'm saying. I'll continue saying this because I know that enemies are too much, but let's forget about it. So, what did I say? Page 92, I said the story of the sale of Joseph was long gone and forgotten, but God was still in control of every situation, and to make Joseph's dream to speak and to come to pass. Behold, I've heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get down hither and buy for us food, and hence there we may live and not die. Without knowing that they were fulfilling the rejected dreams, as they called him a dreamer. You see, whenever you start mocking God's spokesperson, a dreamer, you start even saying that he is mentally ill, as even Noah was called mentally ill. So, one day, when you walk the path of the fulfilled prophets, you may not realize it. Even today, Hakainde Chilema does not realize it. I've warned Ramaphosa, I've warned Jacob Zuma, I've warned Julius Malema. They may not realize it. I've warned Barack Obama. He may not realize it. I've warned Donald Trump. He may not realize it. But when they are in the graves, that's when those who are listening to me, they'll actually confirm exactly what was prophesied. To say, oh, it was said like this, like this, like this. This is what has happened. As the children of Israel were going to Egypt to buy corn, they never realized it. But my main interest in this whole story is that the first time they went to buy corn in Egypt, Joseph identified them. By them, they did not identify Joseph after selling him. They did not identify him because they heard that Joseph, actually, he's a governor, and he was dressed as a governor. The one they sold was a slave. But now, to imagine that the slave, the one that they mocked, can be a governor, it was too much for them. But him realized, he said, these are my brothers who sold me. Then he asked them a deliberate question. Where is this? Where are you, oh Iko? I know Joseph died. He was eaten by an animal. What about any other remaining? No, there's a brother, Benjamin. And can you bring Benjamin with you? And they had to put the money back in their sack. And when they went back home, they found the money in their sack. Very faithful, they took it back. No, the grains that you gave us, we found the money in our bags. They said, no, peace be with you. Then they had to put a cup, a golden cup for the king, in the back of who? Of Benjamin, and arrested Benjamin. That's where now, when I said in this commentary on page 98, page 95, I said, today the cup in our midst is donor aid tied to forced democracy, forced Christian nation declaration given to Zambia for development in form of grants. When the donors shall make a follow-up of the cup, the money involved in the digging of free boreholes, free ox cart, etc., which they have placed in our hands as grants, then we shall know indeed that Vatican and America is our new colonial masters. So this statement is my main emphasis on this topic. I want to say, when I say the cup in our midst is donor aid, every leader, every president today who is boasting of posing pictures with white people or with Donald Trump Jr., signing tenders, signing business deals, signing investment deals, they are all done in exchange of our natural resources, which is classified as donor aid, in order for them to have access to our natural resources for free. This is where the children of Israel began. And this is what led the children of Israel into slavery. And this is what has led Africa today to depend on America and other countries as donor countries, because we need to get free food. Whereas this free food is the same trap that made Benjamin to be arrested. They had to put a cup inside his bag And when they followed the cup, they had to arrest him. And Simon says, no, I made an agreement with my father to say, I'll come with Benjamin. Because the father had rejected Benjamin to accompany them. Because he feared that also Benjamin is going to be what? Is going to be killed. Is going to be to die as the brother. So, but Simon says, I'll be with Benjamin. Wherever Benjamin will be, I'll be there. I'll come with him. When they arrested Benjamin on false allegation, Simon also said, I'll be part of this arrest. I'll also remain in prison. That's when Joseph later revealed himself to his brothers. So these arrests, they are traps to make sure that when you are under sanctions because you are arrested on the allegation that you have stolen donor funds, you have eaten government money which has been placed in your hands to distribute to the people, then you are found a criminal. They ask you, how did you build this house? You are found a criminal. Like I said in the previous in the other video that has been which was been hacked for more than 3 weeks trying to download it. It was not going through. I said Jacob Zuma, see extension of the window, he was called a criminal. Ramaphosa, see money under his sofa, he was called a criminal. Everything is being criminalized, and the laws have been put in place to make sure that we are under that trap of a criminal. When you have your own money, you don't bank it. You are told to say such money cannot be in your house. That is money laundering. But who makes that laws? The time when the laws were made in Zambia, I remember after democrats came in, because I said this democracy is a forced democracy. They started making laws to say even those who are selling fritters, which we call magwinya here, or vitumbua, they must register and pay VAT. I said, you see these laws, they are not just to be implemented today, but in the future, we will see when the mark of the beast shall be introduced. The beast leadership, the American sanctions, the European Union, this leadership, when it comes, it will follow all those small laws to streamline the business, to make sure that Africa has to eat from its nose, and to make sure that everything that Africa does, it is subjected to the law. And which law does not apply in Europe, which law, the same law does not apply in America. And you find that when someone stands, no, you have broken the constitution, you have broken the law, you have to be arrested. Who made those laws? Even when the laws are being passed in parliament, we do not even understand them. But I want to believe to say, today we are here, not because we want to be here with the democracy, because we've been deceived. Democracy is a false governance. I've heard Maponga talking about it today, that democracy, we don't need democracy. Africa doesn't need democracy. I said this a long time ago, even before Maponga could even know about it. Maponga has been recognized on that slogan by the Botswana president, Duma Boko. And Maponga has been recognized and with Ibrahim Traoré. He went there with Zuma. But the true speaker of truth, like myself, I'll still remain where I am, engulfed, and my business being distracted, being exposed to poverty, being exposed to hunger, because I'm not just speaking, I'm exposing the root cause of Africa's poverty. Africa's poverty is not made in Africa, it's made in Europe, it's made in America, it's made in Britain, it's made in France, it's made by the West. And we are given education that trains our mind to depend on them, whereas indirectly they are depending on our natural resources. They get our natural resources for free. They make agreements of window free for VAT so that they can enrich themselves in 5 years using massive machine